like if you're gonna call yourself Pwn Alone, I want to watch you play Counter-Strike. I want to see more of Pwn Alone, because not only does it make me think of Home Alone, which is a movie I love and enjoy, but also it sounds like he's going to be wrecking everybody on his own, Vince.
Yeah, he's kind of put himself into that bracket, hasn't he? So we'll have to see if he can follow through with that or not, as we are now live. Triumph starting off on the CT side, High Coast over on T, and it's a slow and steady approach. Bombs still drop back towards the T side.
I think things are about to get a little bit rough for B Wills as well. The lone defender over on that B site, 5 men looking to rain down hell upon him, and while the other 4 are basically waiting like, don't worry, guys, they're going to peek mid in a minute. Like, we know that these teams have played each other fairly recently, so they might have a few counters here and there. Unfortunately, this time, Vince, maybe not quite spot on.
Important for B-Wills to stay alive, though, and also the parting gift with that grenade doing significant damage. Now tries to hold the line. There's one, looking for more, gets more. 2 kills, and stays alive long enough to allow the rest of his teammates to all push through together. But they're on a bottleneck, and that's where the Glock will start to rip and tear through heads. It gets one, but still Triumph have the advantage, courtesy of B-Wills. Double smokes have now been put down. There are kits in play, but Ben Leet is taking more heads off, and that's 3. Back-to-back High Coast Esports. They pull it back from what looked like it would be a defeat.
Yeah, no, B-Wills did fantastically well. I really want to say Wills, because it sort of rolls off the tongue a little bit better, but you know, I've been informed that it was a capital when we saw in the other way it was written. But yeah, he did a fantastic job. I was looking at that, a 1 versus 5, trying to hold on to the site. I was thinking, okay, if he gets 1, or even if he just falls away, I'll be impressed. But no, fact is, gets a multi-frag, and still it's not quite enough, because again, if you put Leet in your name, Vince, you got to be pretty good at the game. It's sort of like if I was calling myself XX Biz XX. Like, you expect me to be hitting some 360 no-scopes pretty much from the get-go.
Yeah, I feel like you put yourself on that pedestal, don't you, really? Like, where everyone else is just staring at you and expecting greatness. In terms of this round, though, the T's actually go with 4 MAC-10s, which is pretty interesting, alongside the AK of RCF. So the Brazilian component has himself that rifle. Meanwhile, Triumph have gone for a full-on investment. Full Desert Eagles, alongside a few helpings of grenades as well. And for me, every time I see B Wills, I just think of Bruce Willis. I don't know why that is. So, yeah.
Oh, I want to call him Bruce now, just for the entirety of the game. I feel like maybe that might do a little bit of damage to his... Well, I don't know. Is that damaging to his branding? I know we both respect a strong, bald man, as we both are, but maybe that's not quite up his street. No, he's got a mane of hair, in fact, ready to hold down this site once again. A full investment coming in from Triumph. We are going to see them actually have a counter smoke. Only 35 seconds left on the clock, Vince, but it looks like the T's are going to go straight through it. Or at least one of them did, a little bit delayed. And Sheikh Zilla, he's only going to take down 1, but his teammate again, B Wills, always good for 2.
Yeah, 2 more kills, giving his team a real chance to clutch this one out. Now, they have a distinct lack of utility. They did have a few grenades, but now they have depleted. No kit between the 3 of them. This is going to be a rough ask. There's still the AK in hands of RCF. And it's Ben Leet that is looking, and he's on the prowl for some frags. Now, footsteps have been heard. He tries to dart away, buying up as much time as possible, but goes down to the hands of Siddiq, who's now going to be following his way to his early grave from RCF. Will there be enough time? They don't have the kit, but they've already stuck the landing. This is going to be exceptionally close, but I think Triumph may have just stole this one away. With just Desert Eagles, they can keep an AK and a MAC-10 ripping through into the next round. And this time, B-Wills, his 2 kills have made all the difference.
Yeah, no, looking like an absolute tank. Like, I feel like if you could have a player who, even with pistols, is going to get you 2 kills every single time solo holding B, I think you'll take that all day long. I have to admit, I do wonder how long it's going to get us into the match before we drop the Leet in Ben. I think as long as he's top of his team, we'll say Ben Leet, and the second he drops the second, it's Ben. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'm on board with that as well, actually, Tom. Absolutely. I'm totally on board with that one.
Otherwise, he's just Ben Average. Actually, that doesn't sound like a bad name. It does. It sounds like one of those like kid superhero books that people are writing nowadays, where it's like it's not the most exciting book, but they'll call him like Ben Average or something like that. Nonetheless, we are seeing a reinvestment from the T's. They've got themselves a few pistols alongside the AKs. an opportunity for Modem to shine, as we saw previously. He was more of a sort of supportive role where there was a huge amount of stars within that Cloud9 roster. Definitely being replaced as well. Okay, a little bit of Brazilian flair coming out from RCF as he drops the head straight off of B-Will. As I said, he's always good for 2. Maybe that was a little bit premature, as now he's left the B site open.
And honestly, with his death, I'm not sure Cooper really wants to stay around for too long. I wouldn't be surprised if Triumph just save. I know it's a bit of a pill to swallow, but you have AKs, your economy still hasn't really stabilized. So not only are you potentially gift wrapping across another AK to your adversaries, additionally, you lose a lot of economy with it. He's been tagged down with the scout. And it's Pone alone that has put him down to 30. And he's stuck on that left-hand side as well, so he'll struggle to get away from this one. Flashbang into peak. And I think High Coast know the save is very likely coming on, so they'll start to spread out, try and finish off what remains. Now, I'm pretty sure Cooper dies there to the bomb. If he's not careful, he has to try and scamper away. Maybe waiting for the T's to also make a move, and yes, he will get the chance to pull back. So although Triumph do concede the round, at least they keep 4 players alive. Had they have lost these 4 weapons, their economy would be absolutely screwed. So very quick decision-making, and I'm completely on board with it. But talk about that, though, from High Coast. RCF just pummels the head off of B-Wills. Like, that's just such a sick shot. And that's the round done. At that point, the round is over.
It's almost like he was waiting for him to jump across the other way as well, or just jump spot it, but didn't know his position. That is a ridiculous shot to connect, but yeah, consider that just ends the round completely. It does leave a little bit of an awkward spot. However, as you mentioned, like Triumph have still got to buy into this round. It seems like the battle for Banana is going to continue. However, this time B-Will's only with an SMG, so he can't quite take the risks he might want to from the previous round. The boost as well is going to come back into play. Hasn't been spotted yet. Obviously a position you kind of hope that the T's would check, but I feel like there's normally a little bit of leeway in these sort of rounds where, okay, if you're caught out by this boost once, maybe it's forgivable. Viz is actually burning. He's taken a hell of a lot of damage, and in fact, he's going to burn completely. Hasn't seen a single player, and Cynic, well, he can't see at all. As 3 kills quickly come in. Shakezilla, he's going to need a miracle. He's actually done relatively well there, considering at a Mach 10 and nothing else really going to come of the round. A quick cleanup from High Coast, and I don't know what happened to Viz. I maybe just didn't see the flames, didn't feel them either, because I think he burned all the way from 100 to 0.
Yeah, he went out of the Molotov and then went back into it again, like backed away. And the reason why you see a couple of reactions from those players, they were absolutely gutted. They were irate, honestly, is they went for that standard setup on the porch where you have one player play anti-flash and the other one is watching towards middle. The second that Viz dies, it forces those other 2 players to look at mid and allows the flashbangs to be that much more effective. So that one mistake, that one casualty ended up costing them the entire round, and now you see them down to USPs. We were talking about that economy before they were able to save. Last round, absolutely not. They go for a nade stack, but really minimal damage. So it's looking great for High Coast to just rip towards a 4-1 lead. And their money's going to start to build nicely. Good frag from B-Wills, but it just feels like a little bit of a drop in the bucket at this stage.
I think it has to be mentioned as well that going into this, obviously the pickups that we've seen come in from like both sides, really adding in like little bits of extra experience here and there. I do wonder if those sort of setups that we saw, that like, for example, killing someone completely with a Molotov, it was because they basically just swarmed that corner with Molotovs completely. So maybe taking a little bit more of a tactical route rather than maybe some of the less experienced teams where you are just going to see this sort of run and gun, almost like CIS style. Like we talk about the Stewie 2K smoke criminal when he first like burst onto the scene, like the risk taking. Whereas I feel like, especially in sort of like regions like North America, where you've got a lot of younger up and coming talent, if you can be that team where you just basically come in and go, okay, we're going to make sure everything is set from the get-go. We're going to have all our utility plan. We're going to force these players to maybe take positions that they don't necessarily want to. Well, that is pretty much the best groundwork you can have going forward. And so far, High Coast have definitely looked decent. Obviously, a slip up versus the Pistols, the maybe we won't forget too soon, but they're now going to be in a 4-1 lead. Economy's looking pretty damn amazing because they've stolen some of the weaponry along the way. And on the other side, well, let's put it this way, Vince. Cynic is looking to save a FAMAS.
Yeah, it's grim, isn't it? When that's your best case scenario. And it's not like he has Kevlar either, so he's still going to be scrapped for cash regardless. May even drop that across to like Viz. I'm not really sure what Triumph go for in this next round. The only thing is, at least round loss is starting to accrue a little bit for them. But this is also a map where High Coast did take them down the last time they met each other. It was 16-8 to High Coast. So already boding very poorly for the CTs. T-side is running away with this to a degree. And additionally, statistically, it's one of their best maps. For me, though, Tom, when we saw that picks and bans the veto stage, I was a little bit perplexed as to how Train slept through, because this is a map that High Coast have very few maps on. They've only played it twice. So I'm very curious for that second map here.
Yeah, I wonder if it's more just like something they're willing to test out, or even just willing to fight against them, or just something else like a Vertigo, for example, that they were worried would slip through instead. Because I feel like if you don't play Vertigo, you really don't play Vertigo. You just go, I'm not going to touch it. I'm not even going to pretend it doesn't exist, and just we don't have a veto, which could be a bit of a problem. Ben, though, all right, he's just walked straight in. A little pop flash. He's taken down the player on Balk as well. Okay, one of the kills, I was like, all right, that was a bit risky, but he's got away with it. I don't know how he manages to kill the guy on balcony as well, Vince.
Yeah, that's pretty outrageous. And I don't want to take anything away from Ben, but that's got to be a counter kill.
He's still top.
Sorry, yeah, absolutely. We have
come on
after that round as well. We have to put the respect on the lead in his name for sure. But you have to ask a couple questions about Triumph as well. Like, one guy pushes through, kills 2 players on 2 completely separate angles on the site by himself. No counter frag, no damage done to him. He's still on 89 HP, Tom. Like, it's not like he slipped away with 1 HP and somehow got a lucky headshot. He walked through, basically dodged every little bit of confrontation and just everything that Triumph had in store, and has just waltzed his way out of the round. And Cynic's died to the bomb. Oh. Like, you can't even save weapons right now, Triumph. What is happening?
Yeah, I think he's as surprised as we were that he died there. That is rough. But yeah, just look at it. Just goes walking straight into the side. Didn't even really have much support. His teammates were still a little bit further behind. So almost looking too easy for High Coast in a lot of these early rounds. And again, we're not really seeing the economy there for Triumph. We do at least have the AWP onto Sheikh Zula, who's going to try and hopefully get a little bit more aggressive in this round. But at the same time, saving into the next really wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I'm sure, realistically, though, that with the amount of loss bonus that they now have built up, they should be fairly comfortable no matter what happens.
Yeah, that's very true, but they've got to start converting some of those chances as well, because you're already 5-1 behind, and it's not like this round is particularly great either. 2 players on weapons, the rest with just pistols, a bit of Kevlar sprinkled in for good measure. So yeah, you got that round loss bonus, nice grenade, but you've got to start winning some rounds once the full rifles come into play. B-Will's at the back with Cynic. We're trying to edge away some of these shots, but he's gone down without too much of a fight. Now B-Wills steps up, Molotov beneath him, smoke just to keep himself alive, and does get 2. Has been a reoccurring theme, and now a 3-on-3 falls away. Low HP on Bu, but Pone alone has the drop on Cooper. Surprised he didn't check that angle. Post-plant will be coming in, and Sheikh Zula alongside Viz have their work cut out for them, if they even want to go for this.
Well, that's the thing that I'm a little bit confused by. Is obviously, like, Cooper didn't really have much to lose. I think he went in with just a pistol, so it's not really the end of the world. But it seemed like there were doubts of whether they were going to hold for exits or actually push this. And he pushes, and the other 2 were still all the way back in second mid. So maybe a little bit disjointed, because even if they just send 2 players in, or even just held for the exits, they probably would have done a little bit more damage. Not that damage makes a massive amount of difference at this point, Vince, because the economy is off the chains for High Coast. And well, I think Viz is just hoping that he can maybe find a weapon, survive that bomb from the close angle, and if there's an extra gun to be had, there should be. Plenty of players have died in this mix, and there you go. There's something extra at least.
Yeah, and that's oftentimes the other side of that, you know, saving grace, or that like a little bit of reprieve when you say, oh, well, the round loss bonus is building up for the CTs. Yeah, but High Coast's finances are absolutely outrageous. So even if Triumph can start to get some success, they're looking at 2 or 3 rounds at least that they have to win through rifles, through maybe Mac 10s and these kind of aggressive rounds. So it's already looking pretty grim on High Coast's choice of map, but maybe Triumph can get into second gear. Viz yet to get off the mark. Viz, though, will be getting a kill right here, right now, and tags Bu down to 3 HP. So he's done enough for his team to maybe get the upper hand. Good flash tossed in, forces Triumph away, but 3 players rotating so quickly, and there's still 1:20 left on the clock.
kind of need Cooper to survive here. And actually, RCF just goes running in. Ben again is alongside him. Or Ben Lee, I should say. However, it seems like the CTs have managed to fix the issue, and they will manage to trade out these kills with that fast rotation. It does definitely seem to me, though, Vince, that there's some relatively basic utility being used here by High Coast that's actually forcing out some pretty awkward fights. So, for example, you look at Viz there. Originally, that was a hold that involved Cooper. One Molotov goes through, and Cooper's like, see you later, bud. I'm out. And it's just him having to try and spray down. Now, of course, that could have been used as a bait. It might have been Cooper almost like, okay, I'll fake the footsteps, and they won't expect anybody to be here. And Viz actually did quite well to do as much damage as he does, but I'm less keen on a position where basically you're reliant on one player to try and get a multi-frag than the sort of initial bait and switch which seemed to be planned.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. It doesn't feel like teamwork is winning Triumph these rounds. It feels like individual efforts are. But even then, within the confines of that last round, what is going to be very concerning to me, and something I'm sure High Coast picked up on, was just how rapid those rotations were. I said it at the time, with 1 minute 20 left, Triumph had rotated all their players off B instantly. Now, maybe that was just a one-off call, a one-off read that was spot on. But if they have rotations that rapid in future, you better believe the T's will make the most of that. And again, in this round, they're rotating over a third player towards B. This makes a lot more sense. They've been flirting with the idea for a while now, but with 50 seconds to go, High Coast don't have to fully invest behind this. They do have two players over on the left-hand side of Banana, however. So you feel like at least the smoke would have to allow them safe passage back over to the other side. And it feels like the T's will end on B site.
Yeah, the worry as well is you've got an AWP and very little utility. I think there's an HE to try and delay this push. Xilla actually goes in for a peek, but it is the HE. And again, B Will's always good for two. He's found another double as they go pushing into the site. It's going to make things fairly awkward in any sort of after plants. And of course, the T's money, sure, it's a nice little bonus, but they're more than looking to just try and win the round here. Eventually, Pwn alone is going to get that plant. But this is a round that Triumph, there should be no way they lose this.
It has to be theirs, but you did touch on it before. There is a lack of utility. It's centralized on Cooper. He has the Incendiary and a Flash alongside B Wills, but it's one by one again. Viz walks in. Pwn alone goes for that wide swing, takes him down. Already about half of the time are done on the fuse. They have to start pushing in. Incendiary's been tossed out. Does force Bew away, but no one's behind it. No one's peeking in just yet, and the AWP goes straight into his crosshair. They're going to hold it down and keep 3 players alive in the process, and Triumph have completely collapsed.
I don't know how they managed that. they were in a 3v5 and lost. I don't even think they took any damage, like throughout that 3v5. Now, part of me thinks like, okay, having a double AWP on a retake is never ideal, but even still, like you should, like 2 of the players just wide swung and basically peeked into you, and from then on it was just a solid crossfire. But if these are the sort of rounds Triumph are going to let slip, they're just getting outclassed. That's all that is. That's a round that we should never see going the way of High Coast. I even said it before they went for that clutch, but props have to be given. Shakezilla, all right, Mag 7, I appreciate it, but he's going to go down straight away to Butte. Another entry for High Coast, and well, if you can't win a 5v3, I'm not feeling too confident about a pistol 4v5.
I'm right alongside with you as well, Tom, and it's been the nature in these rounds that makes me that little bit more concerned. Now, Pwn alone has been taken down, and Cooper's gone in for 2. He gets the AK and darts out of there, so maybe we spoke a bit prematurely. Would that just be classic? Just classic that a team that's been getting battered in rifle rounds makes Mag 7s and decals work somehow.
Well, B Wills. If this time he gets 2 and they don't win the round, then he really can be frustrated, because this would be a horrific position for them to then lose a 1 versus 3. But it seems like they're being a little bit more patient. The second the bomb is planted, I imagine they're going to try and make this push work. Bew again, though, just finds an instant headshot. And RCF is already going to start to turn this back, leaving just 2 players standing. That advantage quickly dwindles. And now Modem, well, unless he gets a little bit unlucky here, he should at least have a kill, even though he's low. Well, there's the freebie on the first. He's got his teammate in a crossfire as well. It seems like the second, the second this is an after plant, it just goes wrong. High Coast again. It's not been clean. It's not been pretty over the last few rounds. In fact, both of the last two, they probably should have lost, but they seem to do very well. The second they get into the site, the second they get their crossfires, they've just looked better.
No doubt at all. Completely agree with you. Cooper, it's his 2 kills that gave them maybe a bit of a glimmer of hope, but that was quickly dashed away in that shot through the smoke with View doubling up. But of course, he gets the 3rd as well. Just salt sprinkled beautifully into the wounds.
That was just wall bangs or smoke kills. That was his entire round. I don't think he saw anyone cleanly for the entirety of it. I was kind of hoping they'd win that one, because then I could have had the Drake meme, and it's like double AWP setup, and him like, no, double mag 7 setup, and him like, yeah, this is the one I want. Of course, I am a boomer, so saying that out loud definitely sounded a little bit rough. But yeah, more like Ben 96. Great. I didn't actually read what that said, so now that just sounds awful.
It had a lot of 69s in there, and 96s. Okay. 6 and 9 were featured a lot in that stat. I think Elliot was he was enjoying that one. And High Coast are definitely enjoying this game to bring it back. And although the Molotov will be tagging Cooper down, he wanted to make sure that he could at least cover from the Archer's side. This in turn has actually forced out an early rotation from Sheikh Zula, which leaves B Wills again all alone, marooned on B. He hasn't been pushed too hard just yet though. An incendiary will allow him a little bit more time, but Flash is behind it. Another one of those situations where if they do decide to push him, he's pretty much just got to back away. He can't really hold his ground for too long.
We've seen that same Molotov again, thrown in on short side A, do almost 100 damage. And I think that's happened, I want to say 3 times now. And I'm going to go ahead, Vince, say it's not the most complicated. And they keep running through it. And I think they're almost baiting their opponents into thinking they're going to execute off of this. So they've just gone, oh, we have to go through the Molotov now because we're blind or because we've taken damage. It's almost like they've just been forced into these sort of angles. Cooper, though, he's got his AWP. The bait and switch Viz is just bad luck Brian at this point. Just getting wrecked on every turn. And Modem and Pwn alone, well, they pwn together this time as the A site's under their control.
The top fragger did fall, but his death not in vain. It's looking good for a 9th round. In actual fact, it guaranteed will be a 9th round because Triumph just want to save on their last 2 players. Will be Sheikh Zula and B Wills with their assault rifles over on Banana. And I feel as well, Tom, that I, again, don't want to take anything away from High Coast whatsoever, but on another day, I think Triumph could have got another 2 or 3 rounds here. I just don't think in terms of raw aim, they've really shown up just yet. And sometimes that's what it comes down to. We can talk about the strat book. We can talk about the IGLing all we want. But if your players aren't connecting their shots, there's only so much you can do. And we're seeing time and time again, High Coast just walk out into the site, pick up 1 kill here, 1 kill there. In this round, it's on quad. Cooper had a couple of chances to snatch away more lives, and MOTM just comes right around the corner and pierces 2 heads. Just like that, the round is over. So it's been a rough one. At least B Wills can trade up to the AK-47. But for me, Tom, they've pretty much got to win from here on out. And this is that moment I was talking about with MOTM. Just walks out and crushes both of them single-handedly.
Well, I think this is something as well that I'm sure there's plenty of people at home that know this about Modern, but when he starts winning, he gets very, very loud. Like, I think this was actually when they played up against Liquid in NA Pro League a couple of seasons ago, when we were on LAN, and he basically just started talking smack the second they started winning to Team Liquid, like just shouting over the wall, just as loud as he could. They're basically just saying they hadn't shown up. So, I'm sure he's getting the team pumped up right now. I do think they did go on to lose that match, but let's not bring that up. That's, you know, you got to be able to take it, and I definitely think he can. You talk a little bit of smack, and sometimes it comes back to bite you, but I think that is one thing I've enjoyed so far, even with the interviews that we had, that both teams came in just like, yeah, we're going to trash the other one, and, well, someone has to be wrong.
Oh, right now, Triumph are just horrifically wrong, aren't they? But, I mean, in terms of this round, nice play. They threw a Molotov down, forced RCF to throw in a smoke, and then instantly suppressed him through it. Although Motum as well does give Triumph a chance to maybe pick up a 3rd, and maybe this is their 2nd win that we've been waiting for.
I hope so. I hope so, because this would definitely not be the opener that they were looking for, especially when we know some of the other teams in the tournament, like, you go through 2nd place in your group, and it gets pretty rough. B-Wills this time, it's only going to be the 1. And again, we're into that same sort of scenario that almost worries me, Vince. The second the bomb has gone down, it's almost been like Triumph just instantly tap out of the round. Even though they'll come into this retake, it's just not been enough. Utility, again, not in the greatest of states. A couple of smokes, but no incendiaries. That's the big factor here. They can't even try and force the players out of the angles that they previously held. And well, it looks like the initial is just going to go to smoke up Banana, where there's currently nobody.
Yeah, and Ben's been able to just hold this position for so long, and his aim is on point. It's 2 kills, runs out of ammunition, but it's at least weakened them up. Maybe Bu can still tag this one out. There's the first headshot, spins into a second, and again, Triumph have the advantage in a retake, and they falter, and they slip away. That has got to be theirs. That was, what, a 3v5 again?
Yeah, it definitely looks like it. It's one of, again, those situations where they start things off really well, and then it just seems to completely fall apart from them. Also, is Bu giving out a few hints here? I think he has a Team Liquid chair. He's just like, hey guys, you need a 6th. I've already got the chair. Like, just give me a few jerseys here and there. To be fair, if someone gave me a Team Liquid chair, I'm probably going to be using it every day.
Yeah, it looks sick. Yeah, definitely. And the way he's been playing, it's very possible that High Coast may very well meet Liquid later. RCF, hello? Listen, mate, I understand confidence, but that's ludicrous. What are you doing?
I saw this one in a frag movie. Just goes bunny hop around the corner. I love it, but at the same time, has given them an all. We're going to see the nades dunked over. He'll deny the plan. We've just seen Shakezilla go straight through the smoke. He was trying to deny it completely. B-Wills, we haven't seen him on the AWP. It's been Shakezilla and Cooper so far. And the spam, oh, it's not far away. Are they going to push through the smoke? They are. They're going to boost back over. These are some of the most bold plays I think I've ever seen in Counter-Strike, but iCoast are making them work. If you can bunny hop round a corner with an AWP versus pistols and still win the round, why not?
Yeah, this feels to me like it harkens back to that point you were talking with the trash talk. Like, this just feels very disrespectful. And the worst part is it's gone unpunished, Tom. So you know that Triumph is sitting there just silently stewing away. Like, how did we not take this round out of all of them? They really had another chance, and High Coast moved to 11 rounds on the T half as well. It's not as if they've had this impenetrable CT side and Triumph for like, okay, fair enough. Look, now we get a chance on our own half on CT. Like, you've just got absolutely manhandled on defense, and it just looks ridiculous, doesn't it? And they still win. Like, what is happening here?
I really want to know what he thought was going to happen. That's the thing, because I don't think in any point in my life I have had that level of confidence. Like, I could be 99.9% sure in something and I still wouldn't be as confident as he was there. That was impressive. I want to see more RCF cam, because clearly this guy is looking to just dominate anybody that comes into his path, even if it means bunny hopping around a corner into 2 players with an AWP and no support.
It does set a pretty high bar as well, though, Tom, because I'm curious if High Coast end up starting to lose a map later on in the tournament. Do we see those audacious plays come out then? Is this like you're only singing because you're winning type of thing, you know? Are they this confident and abrasive and brash when they're leading? Cooper, though, will claim first blood, and it is onto RCF from the very position where he did get shut down last round, so maybe Triumph can end strong at least and pick up 4. Even with that being said, it may not be good enough. Cooper may get a second shot at it and pulls the trigger, even while flashbanged. Motum has been silenced. It's another 3v5, but we have been here so many times already, and it's typically been High Coast that come out ahead. However, Cynic has gone in again, suddenly down to Pone alone and Ben. In terms of their performances, been pretty damn good, but Ben instantly splattered, and surely Triumph can hold on to this round. They do. And they do it in style too, Tom. They don't lose a single player.
Yeah, it looked much better. I think, although it has been this dominant from High Coast, I will say the one thing that I think is there to be critiqued is it seems like they're fairly telegraphed in the plays that they're going to be making. Like, it almost seems like they've gone, this round we're going to go A, and then they go A. Like, it doesn't seem like there's any sort of rotations. And because of that, we've seen multiple times now where Triumph have had 3, maybe 4 players on the correct site. It's just that they've still managed to lose a lot of the duels in previous round. This time, though, Cooper does a great job. And as said, everybody was there to support. And there wasn't any sort of rotation even planned from High Coast. They are just looking to bulldozer anyone that comes in their way. Shakesilla ran through the smoke at the bottom of Banana B-Wills. That is a very nice try. However, they are still going to get control of the site. And, well, when it's come down to clutches, there's only been one winner. However, while we speak about RCF, we talk about style points. Oh, no. He scuffed it. I don't think he's going to get around the corner. He's not going to get anything. Cynic, he went in with his eyes closed and still managed to find the kill.
It's a beautiful half from High Coast, but at least Triumph do end with a couple of victories. We'll find out if they can pull it off after the break.
Love, got me thinking about love. I'm gonna sing at the top of my lungs, like ba ba da ba da, ba ba da ba da. Love, just thinking about love.
I'ma show love because there's really nothing to it. Everybody's gotta try it, come and join the movement. Gotta live, love life until it's all congruent. I'm going hard until they fill me with embalming fluid. Never have to stop and doubt when I'm the one that's watching out. Know you tried to get the rebound and life boxed you out. Never let the situation slow you up or stop you now. I'ma always help you to your feet when they knock you down. Everybody has their trials and the tribulations. Give it everything you got, the only stipulation. Remember, you're the only one that's setting limitations. Don't turn your life into a prison with no visitation. Living hard, trying to dodge the warden and the prison guard. Disregard the negative, then show them where we've been before. Mapping out my dreams, then I put them on the vision board. All about the love, we gotta show them what we're living for.
Love, got me thinking about love. I'm gonna sing at the top of my lungs, like ba ba da ba da, ba ba da ba da. Love, just thinking about love. Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah. Okay, yeah. Gotta learn to love hard with no reservations. I'm just trying to live honest with no reservations. Gotta free your mind, you don't need all these regulations. Between the love and the hate, the only segregation. Bring them out, everyone that's got so much to figure out. Went and got the ladders and the shovels, we gon' dig them out. Gotta take a step back, the picture's getting bigger now. Write it on the paper, read it back, and then you live it out. You couldn't climb a mountain if it all was smooth. It's the bumps in the road to help you find the groove. You never have to stress because you've got the tools. Let's put some love in the air and help them find the move.
Love, got me thinking about love. I'm gonna sing at the top of my lungs, like ba ba da ba da, ba ba da ba da. Love, just thinking about love.
Wow. High Coast have definitely proven themselves to be able to get themselves out of pretty much any situation, Vince. They're 11-4 up after a very strong T side, and now we need to see the other side from Triumph, see if they can dominate in any way, shape, or form in the same way we saw from High Coast. I'm not going to be holding my breath, though, because thus far, they've had a lot of advantages, but seemingly been able to throw most of them away.
Yeah, that's very true. And most of that came down to just straight up coming out second best in trades and just raw aim. So now that you're on the T side, that's we're going to have to lean on those a little bit more. High Coast, very similar setup to what they had to go up against in the first half as well. And Ben gets caught with a flash as the peak comes out around the corner. The nade does land, though. A couple players have been tagged in the process. Boo trying his best to get back in there with the CZ. And although a couple players still not weak inside, especially Cooper, this is where the player advantage should become good. 2 players were there, and RCF checks the kill feed. It's like, oh, I just doubled up. Now we've actually got the advantage, and it goes from bad to worse. Cynic's all that remains, takes down the first player, trying desperately to save his team, save them, and everything he can with the Glock, and he puts down 3 consecutive headshots, and Triumph somehow steal it away.
That's happened in both pistol rounds. What is going on with this match? Triumph managed to somehow get out of that. I'm almost certain that RCF had absolutely no idea that he got 2 here. Like, I don't care. I'm starting to genuinely believe that guns that pros use are different to the ones I use. Because that has never even happened or come close in the like few thousand hours I played in Counter-Strike. And this man manages to do it almost just by accident. It's quite funny. I said that once on Twitter, and a couple of people genuinely responded to me saying, like, yeah, other people's deagles are different. I'm like, no, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke about me being bad.
Good old Twitter. Never disappoints. High Coast Esports, though, have gone in for the full purchase, already conceding 2 casualties. Both Motum and RCF are down for the count. And Triumph now turning their attention elsewhere. Boo! Oh, it's a beautiful 1D. The bomb's been spilled down and nearly doubles up onto B-Wills, who's tagged down to 11. And that could put some shockwaves down the rest of Triumph, but they decide to still push towards A site regardless, doing their due diligence and making sure those angles are covered. But this does also give High Coast the opportunity to save onto these 2 guns and to come out in the next round, at least with some form of firepower. Apart from that, though, it's looking good for Triumph to actually bridge the gap a little bit, Tom. And from a neutral's perspective, I'm happy to see this, because had they have lost that second pistol, if Cynic doesn't come out with a beautiful 1v3 clutch with his back to the wall, this map probably ends pretty soon after. So at least now we've actually got a game on our hands.
Yeah, I think as well for both of these teams, obviously Triumph have dropped a little bit in the rankings because of all the roster changes that have happened, but these are 2 teams that are hopefuls for playoffs. Right? I think especially like High Coast in the form that they've had recently, like that's the goal here. So if they did manage to stomp out Triumph, maybe then they look towards like some of the teams like Extra Salt, for example, have been in incredible form recently. Anything like sort of further, like you're getting towards a grand final, I'm not so sure. I think that's a stretch. Like I think Liquid, no surprises, as pretty much everyone's favorites going into this tournament. And then Extra Salt are probably the team that have to try and beat them. Everyone else is just gunning for those sort of semifinals, see if they can maybe sneak past one of them. But if it was Triumph just getting bodied in map 1, I think most people, including myself, would basically go, okay, well, this new roster is not going to have anywhere near the same success as the last one.
A lot of points to prove, as you say, and Cooper takes off the head of RCF. They did try to go in for another repeak, understandable when you've got lack of weaponry, try and take the opportunities where they fall. Nothing really forthcoming. Cooper has been tagged down. That grenade does minimal damage, just negligible to Shake Zula and B-Wills, who still maintain the banana control, and although the bomb is dropped back at T-spawn, more than enough time, Tom, if at any point they want to dip back, pick it up, and head towards the other side of the map. But at least High Coast, they're relatively healthy, and they do have a flashbang at their disposal, so maybe they can try and pull off some shenanigans yet.
Well, yeah, speaking of shenanigans, Modem, he's going to hear the smoke. They're all here. Who do you aim for? That's the real question. 4 different targets. First one goes well. The rest of the players actually going to look to try and wrap around the arch side. This could be more of a problem. They're walking into the majority of the players on this side. Modem, oh, it's timing, and Cooper actually gets the better of that peak. It looked like there was some hope, at least for a second, but eventually Triumph will get through.
Any more kills at this point, though, on the exit, and High Coast will be hurting Triumph's economy. Full-on rifles in play, so Triumph may tread lightly and not go and try and hunt onto these last 2 players. Could do more harm than good. Allows High Coast to save these 2 Kevlars and keep the Deagle and the Scout in play, albeit, obviously, that Deagle is going to be upgraded to what you'd assume will be an assault rifle, potentially even an MP9. But they are waiting. Pwn alone is welcoming that peak. Realizes that maybe the Sanctuary of B-site would be a little bit better suited. It does mean that Triumph, though, will move up to 7 rounds 4-round deficit still in play. We will have the first proper rifle round come in for the CTs, though. And with it, the first true test.
Yeah, this is where, well, for Heiko's side, they're hoping they're going to change things around. Both teams actually almost very eager to go for a double AWP setup. It's a map where I think there's massive weaknesses to running a double AWP. You almost have to win on the picks. Like, if it goes to an afterplant position, like, retaking on either of the sites is pretty horrific, especially if there's any utility remaining for the T's. So I'll be interested to see how this works out for High Coast. I think RCF has already proven that he might be more of the art style of AWPing with fairly aggressive plays. And Pone alone, I'm hoping he's not that same style. Otherwise, this might be one of the most manic CT sides we've ever had to keep up with.
I'm totally on board, Tom. Let's go. Let's get chaotic. Let's get crazy. I think a lot of the reason they do also pick up both AWPs in these plays is because they know that Triumph have full assault rifles. I think if there's 2 or 3 MAC-10s in play, they may actually assume this is a bonus round and maybe just dip down to 1 rather than 2, because being overwhelmed is really where the AWP will struggle. Ooh. Flash was good, but RCF's timing even better. And just like that, they take the advantage. You said you're curious how the double AWPs were going to fare. So far, so good.
Yeah, it's a good start. It's just whether or not they can actually hold on to the sites. Because again, like especially on B, a double AWP retake, we saw it earlier, it sucked. So you don't want to allow them to get into the site. That's almost too easy, though. A slow peak, I guess not expecting a second AWP to come in. I wouldn't expect it in a first buy round either. But now they're coming down to the 25-second mark. A smoke's isolated them as well, that they'll pretty much have to push through. They've then got to get past what is still 2 players waiting on the site. And Boozle, he's ready for this. Oh, the drop down timing was a little bit rough, but they've still got the crossfire here. The AWP within the site is not ideal, but RCF, he's making it work. He's got teammates to play with, or I say that, they actually lose the fight. And on the last second, they're going to get themselves the bomb plant. I wasn't even expecting that for Triumph. Now let's see what they can do with it.
This is actually a winnable round. Cooper is going to get aggressive with the AWP. He's one of the standout players for Triumph thus far. The flash is good. He's given his position away, but he hasn't been wide swung just yet. Meanwhile, his teammate, his partner in crime, has come. Cooper will kill of his own, and it's a fake flash. I can only assume Ben is now given his position away, and down goes Ben to the hands of Cooper. And it's Triumph's turn to now clutch out with mere seconds to spare.
This has been such a weird game. Like, it's been one of those ones where each time you see like a huge advantage come up, you almost have to second guess yourself, like whether this was going to work. Did RCF really try to jump up on the box? Like, there was literal seconds on the clock and he's holding an AWP. That seems a little bit wild, but yeah. Easy entries, seconds on the clock, and Triumph still managed to make it work. And you have to give credit over to Cooper as well. Like, the re-aggression with the AWP, knew what he needed to do, knew they needed a pick and some control, so he regains a little bit of positioning. Pone alone, he's just been owned. Just completely wrecked. 2 grenades dunked straight onto his head, and the easiest opener you're ever going to have.
Oh, so grim. And he was looking up at the sky because he actually wanted to return the favor. He was looking for the up and over dunk nade. And instead, he just caught 2 on the head. Now, Triumph picking up the pace, looking that their final destination will be the A site, but they don't check the angle. And Boo's got 2. The bomb's dropped down as well. Boo goes in for more, runs out of ammunition and health as well. 2v3, a minute to play with. Bomb was spilled out on the site, but has been retrieved by Cooper, who will throw in the Molotov. It does give him a bit of reprieve and allow him the opportunity to go for the plant. And although it is a 2-on-3, when you look at the firepower and the lack of grenades, this should fare better for Triumph.
You've had to premise it with a should, because so far we've not really seen the outcomes that should have been. Cynic, though, not in a bad position. Flashbang's going out. The bomb's not planted for him. And Motum, he's not going to put any doubt in our minds. Goes for the swing. I need to see some of those Boo shots again, because there was almost a moment, the first shot he goes to take, where it looks like they was going to line up. I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance here. Misses that shot, then just wall bangs someone straight through the box. Like, the less likely of the two. I'm not going to lie, if that happened to me, I probably would have reported him, but that's just because I'm a little bit salty.
Yeah, it's that second shot, absolutely. Through the box, into the head, while moving, of course. Just Desert Eagle things. Triumph, at least, though, with a lot of success early on, even though they conceded all 5 players. With the post plant, they can get another buy without too many issues. And to be honest, they probably will be able to force one up as well, especially if another plant comes into play. Boost up and over the smoke. Won't be catching any players off guard for the time being, and this has an expiry date. At some point, they'll start to worry about second mid getting peaked. They'll start to worry about apps control, and they have to move away from this angle. You can see that Viz wasn't far off. If he goes for that quick wide swing, they're both dead. So they realize it, they back away. No early bloodshed, although it came very close to not being the case.
Again, banana control. Just take him with a few grenades. They've avoided the aggressive AWP, and Pwn alone is forced back. Looked like for a second Sheikh Zula was tempted to peek that, but realizing, okay, we got loads of time on the clock. We don't really need to take any risks. The CT is probably going to go hunting for some information as to where to try and rotate their players in. We're going to see the classic boost at the back of the site, but just look at the Ts. They've given up that banana control. The rotations come in from RCF, who you can see has the temptation to peak, but unfortunately, it looks like he's going to be nowhere near the action.
Oh, his position is actually so good for Boot. That's the lurk smoke. And he's in prime position to fend that off. 25 seconds to go. Not a single casualty on the CT side. He can use that smoke to his own good as Boot relocates, waits for the flashes, anticipates them. They start to spill out on towards the side. He doesn't have to snatch his opportunity. Gets 2 kills. Bomb's been dropped down. Mottram had the right idea, but his spray not quite up to the task. And although he has put down more players, there will be enough time just about for another 2v3 retake. Drops in play, but RCF has lost his life. And that puts more pressure on Ben and Pwn alone.
It's going to happen again, isn't it? Cooper, he's well positioned to try and take the player pushing through the short side. He does have to be a little bit careful, though. But the apartments player would have to make a pretty loud noise. The only problem is with an AWP, I don't think he can move quick enough. It's left onto Cynic. He's had a pretty decent game, but he can't do anything this time. Ben will be there to close him out. Unfortunately, the lead's been removed because he's not currently top, but I don't think they're going to mind too much, and they should just about have this defusal going through. So not quite this time for Triumph. Bomb plant would definitely help them going forward. However, the chances of an AWP looking fairly slim.
I'm not a fan of those last 2 positions. It's like typically we talk about crossfires and 2v2s, and when you're on the receiving end of a plant, it's always that little bit more difficult. But you see those 2 Ts basically playing 2 separate 1v1s or 1v2s as the case may be. They weren't covering each other. They didn't have each other's angle of aggression at all. And so they just fall one by one and somewhat give that round away to High Coast. They can go for another buy, albeit down to their last few cents. Includes a MAC-10 and a Galil. A lot of grenade damage to kick things off, though, onto Sheikh Zula and B Wills. Bit of damage to Ben as he has to just get the hell out of Banana. But in doing so, High Coast, they get the better of that trade.
Yeah, I think as well, the realization should be there that this is one of those weaker buys, and with a lot of utility being used fairly early on, gonna have to try and just use the remainder to garner at least a little bit more control over Banana. They don't know how aggressive their opponents are currently being. The thing is, though, High Coast have actually been fairly happy to just sit back, take more passive positions, and almost just sort of bait them in. Like, okay, are you going to gamble what site we've stacked, where our positioning is actually going to be? And, well, it looks like the take will just continue to push in this direction. You can see that RCF, he's not one to sit still. He's going to start spotting out there's no one in mid. The problem is now the execution begins. Pwn alone, nice shot, but surely going to be overwhelmed. However, Mottram does a decent job there. Another double kill, leaving just Cynic standing. 1v3, 30 seconds, no bomb in his control. This is rough, and even a slight gap. Just enough for the Brazilian to find his way through.
Triumph, they've desperately tried, and, you know, it got super close. At one point, I thought they would mount the comeback. I thought they'd be successful. But a couple of mistakes in 2v2, 3v2 situations has cost them so dearly. They won't be fully investing. They've gone for more of a half buy, so they'll be likely trying to save multiple map points. But still, with this run and gun style, the Tech 9, the P250s, I'm not going to completely write them off because I've expected the unexpected time and time again here, Tom. It's been a really crazy game, a lot of fun to watch and commentate, but it could be coming to a close, at least on Inferno. Aggression right outside of Apps, already dropping down in towards the pit area. RCF up close with the AWP, doesn't need to land the flick because he has Boo there to help him out, but now B Wills shows his hand. 2 kills come down, Modern's been dinked. He could be finished off, and indeed he is. It's a 2-on-2.
Oh, there are so many questions to be asked about this round once again, but for now, we have to focus on the fact that there's actually a chance for them to win this one. Another dink as well. Pone alone has managed to get quite far forward, and he'll clear out the first man. The last is Cooper. He seems to be in every single one of these clutch situations and looking to try and convert another. Tack down to 59 HP, gets a solo peek, but this time it's not going to be enough. And there might be a smile on Pone Alone's face, Vince, but there definitely isn't one on mine. I'm surprised that that was even close. And RCF, I feel like I'm going to, well, I don't know if they'll like this comparison, but for me right now, he's like the Brazilian Smooya. Like, you kind of, it's like he hears, did you say they're on eco? And then she's gone. It's like, you got, no, it's like, no, wait, come back. You're going out. And he's already gone. Because he tried to basically run at them when they jumped off Balk with pistols.
Yeah, he was behind the hay bale with the AWP, wasn't he? It was a bit unfortunate. And speaking of unfortunate, B Wills, who is likely to come out on the receiving end of a loss. More multi-kills in the first half than anyone.
Elliot, I'm disappointed. That's one of the worst puns I think I've ever seen. And that's coming from me. Ugh. Multi-wheels. That's not something I'm going to be able to forget too soon.
And he won't either, Tom, because he might lose this game. Think of what he did on the CT side.
He'll want to forget.
A beast.
God. That's the same battle. Nades going through on Banana and yeah, 21 and 16. He's not had a bad game considering the current scoreline. There's definitely been a few quieter players. Like Viz in the first half was just getting owned. Like it seemed like as well that a lot of the time he was in the right place at the right time. He'd get even the timing on his peaks looked good, and it would just be Motum running around the corner would just insta headshot him or something. RCF, oh, they're actually gonna boost over the edge of this smoke. Again, looking for information, trying to be proactive. The anti-flash doesn't actually catch him at all, and RCF's still here. They haven't spotted this second player, even though he's so close. However, he needs to get at least 2 kills, otherwise this spot really isn't worthwhile. Instead, Motum now just gonna go running around the corner, and I feel like we've seen that a few times. The rotation, the call, maybe a little bit late, and just almost dedicating yourself fully into the site in what is likely to be a 1v3. It just doesn't seem worth it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because like the stack, the whole purpose of the anti-flash into peak is that you simultaneously sandwich away from archers at the same time. And it's like they're on a different script, a different page of a different script, where you got the 2 players on porch that are trying their best to battle it out. And then Motum is just kind of chilling on archers, gets to the site late, just dies effectively from a wide swing. And that's the round done. They have to save. Their economy can supply a good buy with keeping these 2 alive, especially as Ben was the weakest player in terms of finances. So they can go again, but Triumph have at least saved 1. Map point needs 6 more to go to take us into overtime. But yeah, there's a couple of queries and question marks for me, Tom, on both sides of the coin here for some of the plays that we've seen.
Yeah, a few one and done situations. And again, I personally, I would have just like Motum to try and maybe fight for the retake. It seemed like he was so dedicated, almost like he was just trying to bench press them out. Like, no, don't worry, lads. I'm going to 1v3 this one. A risk not worth taking. But again, that seems to be the way that they get away with a fair few of these rounds, where there's just some incredibly audacious plays. But it still seems to work most of the time. And even if it doesn't, they then just break back so quickly. Like Triumph haven't had a massive streak of rounds other than what was the very beginning of this half. And I'm not really going to count the 1 extra round they got off the pistol conversion. Like that's not really singing a happy song for me.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like we were talking about it before, that High Coast were just a step above when it came to their trading. Eventually, they're going to slow down, or Triumph are going to pick up the speed. And speaking of which, momentum now being shifted through the gears. They look to hit B quickly. 1 lone defender, Pone alone. has to just pull the plug and wait for the rest of the troops to arrive. It will be a 5-on-5 retake, including 3 incendiaries. As you said earlier, in the hierarchy of retake grenades, incendiary is king, especially on the beast site. And they've got flashbangs behind it. As far as 5v5 retakes go, this is very winnable. This could be the last play of the game.
Yeah, the problem is that bomb's already halfway ticked. They have got to get a move on. They are slowly starting to force players out, but that is the last thing I expected to happen.
Same.
So they threw in all the incendiaries and then didn't push.
I kind of wish my camera was on so people could have seen my expression, because I like literally don't understand what just happened.
I've never seen anything like that. Like, right, guys, line up the nades. All right, throw. And now run. Like, why? just keep the grenades. You know, you don't need to throw them if you don't have time.
I wonder if it goes back to what you said as well, Tom. You said yourself, like, but listen, because to kind of count what I was saying, already half of the time is gone. I wonder if they pulled the grenades, then saw the timer, were like, actually, boys, we better dip out of here.
Nah.
The good old throw you utility and retreat tactic. RCF goes for that aggression, does get away with it though. With the smoke down on middle afforded him safe passage back again. And still 5 more to save for Triumph. So even though there's been a couple of head-scratching moments, shall we put it nicely, they're still well and truly in prime position here, High Coast, to take their choice of map.
I guarantee when he fell back there, he said, did I get him? Like that's the classic. Like when you shoot one shot while completely blind, you're like, did I get him? It's like, no, run, get away. The early aggression definitely slows Triumph down a little bit. Wary that there's going to be pushes coming in. Pwn alone also starting to make a play. Again, we're going to see this boost. It hasn't been spotted, and this time RCF manages to find the pick. In the meantime, however, they are going to go pressuring, and Pwn alone, I'm not a big fan of this spot. He's completely isolated, solid flashbang, but now needs to retreat. Continuing to push this would be so risky, and there you go, Vince. Like, you know, continue to push it.
I could hear the confusion, the disappointment in your voice there, Tom. And with 30 seconds to go, High Coast have got to try and repel what could be the final push, the final hurrah from Triumph. There's good grenades though, lands on the head of Boo, and now Motum tries to hold on to the site, but he gets crushed by Cynic. And so Triumph, they managed to survive yet another round. They're actually starting to make this a little bit too close for comfort. High Coast should have enough finances to buy again if they can save. But Triumph, fair play, Tom. I thought this would be done and dusted by now. I thought it'd be wrapped up in a neat little ribbon, but we're still going.
Oh, I'm sure there's some guys in production right now like, cut his microphone. Get him out of here. We're gonna. Well, for anybody who can't hear that, our producer just said we're about to mute you. But yeah, it's one of those situations now where I almost feel like High Coast, they want, like, each player wants to be the one that ends the game. They're like, I've got this one. Ooh. RCF's definitely hitting some tasty shots here and there, but yeah, I think for Pwn alone in that situation, like, okay, the nice flashbang, go for the repeat, didn't get anything. Molotov's now gone. You have a 5v4. I think there's about 45, 50 seconds left. Just fall back and hold the site. You didn't need to go for another repeat. There may have been another flashbang behind him, but at this stage, like, you are far enough into the round that that's just completely unnecessary.
Oof.
But who can bench press more? That's what we really care about.
I think Freakazoid might have that one in the bag. Oh, Cooper's, he's not a small lad himself, to be fair. He's pretty well built. True.
That's the thing. I wouldn't like to be like it, because if I was the third brother, I'd just be wrecked. Like, you got these two like absolutely wham like guys, and you're just like, oh yeah, hey, I'm Steve. I can just about get out of bed in the morning. Like, you got the little croaky voice.
You do that voice too good, Tom. I'm not gonna lie.
It's almost like I'm holding it back.
It's a bit suspicious, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh god. Oh, RCF. Oh my god, Cynic. Just straight through the smoke. He got there before the flash, and he's just carrying on. He's had enough. Enough disrespect. It's only going to come back to bite you. And, well, Boo is going to be the only A defender. That joke would have worked better if he was on B, considering his name. But yeah, he's just got to get out of there. Coop. Oh, the switch couldn't have been worse. That's a desk breaker. And for him, that's just a light tap with those biceps. Like, oh.
That's a saved up as well, at least for High Coast. So Triumph, the score was what, 15-8, I want to say? So that's 4 saved points at the moment. And whereas before they could at least force up weapons behind saves, I'm not sure they'll be able to this time. Now, round loss is coming up for the CTs at least, so it's going to be an interesting situation for them in terms of their finances. Let's have a look how it will fare. They could drop from Boo. Maybe Ben can drop like an MP9, but do they go for it or do they just hold on for the next round? It looks like they will. I've just seen the Max 7 get picked up.
I think it's a half. If he's gone all in, I'll be very surprised. I think that Ponalone has enough high loss bonus so that they can get something in.
Right.
And then they'll still be able to get enough in the next round. They've also got RCF still on an AWP, which I don't think we've seen it yet. But there's been moments where I just think this guy is going to do something that I'm not going to understand that will win them the game. And I think it's coming ever closer. Ponalone, they've gone past him. They've gone past him. He's one of the pack, at least for a second or two. Ben as well does have an AK in hand. The spray is wild, but he gets away with 2. Is this going to be the round that ends it all? That would be heartbreaking for Triumph. A brilliant comeback, but now only 2 players standing. They need to bring in that inner clutch once again, but the flashbangs are working out. They're going to try and get close and clear that player on site. In the meantime, Boost coming in. It's not quite working out, though, for Boo. And finally, he'll put one in the dirt. But Cynic still with a chance. His 21st kill added to the list. The remaining players actually wrapping around onto the site. He could try and sneak his way all the way back in. However, now I imagine both teams are a little bit confused.
We'll be peeking back in. The spray is good and doing a bit of damage to RCF, who puts the last nail in the coffin. And although it was labored, although it was a little bit too close for comfort,